Hi friends, welcome to Gentle Yoga class. We're continuing our theme of releasing our expectations with a gentle, restorative type flow. So I always recommend extra props for these classes. They're totally optional, but it might be helpful to have a blanket handy in case your knees are sensitive on the ground. I also recommend 2 blocks if you've got them. But of course, you can always do this entire practice without any props. So once you've got everything set, ready to go, come and meet me in a gentle seated position on your mat. You can sit up on a pillow or a bolster if that feels good. Hands on knees or thighs, close your eyes. As always, taking a moment to tap in to our heart, to our breath, repeating our mantra silently to ourselves. I release expectations. When we come into class, we expect our bodies to act a certain way, our minds to behave a certain way. Sometimes that can cause disappointment when our body or our mind or our heart are just feeling different, because as humans, we're always changing and adapting, and one day might not feel exactly the same as the next. So when we release all expectations for ourselves, for our yoga practice, that can help us really feel more present with what our yoga practice is right now. And what your practice is beautiful and perfect exactly as it is, even if it's different than yesterday, than a year ago, 10 years ago. Whatever's right for your body is already perfect. Take another moment, listening to the breath, letting go of expectations for our breath as well, and just accepting what is. And as the breath slows, as our mind calms, slowly opening the eyes to come back to the room, maybe a little bit calmer, more settled than you were when you first started. And we're going to get into our first pose, bound angle pose. So, soles of the feet together, knees nice and wide. Now, depending on what your hips need today, letting go of expectations, you can draw heels closer to the torso for more stretch, or if you want to back off a little bit, send the feet forward for less of a stretch. You can also incorporate blocks in a couple different ways. Option 1, 2 blocks, one under each knee for support. If you feel like your knees are way up here and you want to bring the floor closer to you, using those props as support is a beautiful option. Now, the other way around, if you feel like your inner hips are so flexible, your knees are just dropping to the ground, and you don't feel much engagement, you want to feel more of a stretch, you can take a block or any prop, place it between the feet. This can add a bit more stretch. Your knees will likely lift a little bit higher. And just think about pressing the feet into both sides of the blocks to activate the legs, the inner hips. And sometimes a little bit of activation can help release some tension. So, whatever spot felt best for you today, pick a spot, stay here for a moment, sitting up nice and tall, lengthening the tailbone down towards the ground. You can have hands at the ankles like I'm doing here. Taking a few breaths, really focusing in on that inner hip stretch. Imagining the tension just melting away. Taking 2 more breaths here. Always breathing at your own pace, never trying to rush. This is your practice, and you can always make it fit for you. When you're ready, move a block out of the way if it's there. Take both hands outside of both knees and just close the knees up like a book. Maybe stretch the legs out long in front of you and just shake them out. Beautiful. And meet me in a tabletop position. Wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. And we're going to move through some cat and cows to open up the spine. You can always take a blanket, place it underneath the knees for a little extra cushion. So on the inhale, arch the back, gaze forward, dropping belly towards the ground. And on the exhale, tuck the tailbone round the spine, draw chin towards chest, puffing up back body towards the ceiling. Moving back and forth with your own breath. Inhale to arch. And exhale to round. Moving slowly and mindfully. Connecting breath to movement. Always a great place to start at the beginning of our physical yoga practice. Finding that connection between mind and body. Couple more each way. Inhale to arch. Exhale to round. Once more together. Inhale, arch. And exhale, round. Beautiful. Coming back to a neutral tabletop here. So lengthen that tailbone back behind you, nice long spine. We're going to do some hip circles, continuing to open the hip. So draw that left knee out to the side like a puppy peeing on a fire hydrant. And then just moving the knee in circles. Moving in one direction to start. Finding some opening in that left hip. And then circling in the other direction. Slowly settle your movements, extend that leg back behind you, and then draw left knee behind right, crossing at the knees, press into the hands and sink the hips back, almost like a cross-legged child's pose. There's more of your body in the way, so you won't be able to lower all the way down like in regular child's pose. But just sinking the hips back, maybe feeling a stretch in the outer hip this time. Don't forget to breathe. On the inhale, moving back up to center and uncross the legs, meeting in tabletop pose. Let's do the other side. So draw the right knee out to the right. Think puppy peeing on a fire hydrant. And then we'll start to circle through that right knee, opening up through the right hip. You might notice that one hip feels tighter than the other one. That's perfectly normal. Switching directions, circling the other way. I always try to remember what I've heard my teachers say. Different hips, different lives. Each hip might have their own unique needs. Slow the movements, extend that right leg back, and then cross right knee behind the left. Sinking back, pressing into the hands for our cross-legged child's pose. Maybe feeling a stretch in the outer right hip. Sinking down with each exhale. Letting go of expectations of what this should feel like. If you don't feel the stretch that I'm pointing out, that's perfectly okay. Maybe your body needs something else to feel that stretch. Always feeling free to change it up or just be with what is. Inhale to slowly lift back up. Uncross the knees. Wiggle out through the hips a little bit. From here, do a little hamstring stretch by extending that left leg back, toes to mat, and just pressing back, bouncing a little bit into that left foot, pressing the heel back, and feeling a nice stretch through the back of the leg. Bringing the left knee back and extending right leg, tuck the toes and bouncing into that right heel. Feeling that nice hamstring stretch, nice and gentle. From here, if it feels okay in your body, coming up to downward facing dog, so tucking both toes and sending the hips up and back. Maybe pedaling out through the feet. Heels drawing towards the ground, but they don't necessarily have to touch. You can keep a generous bend in both knees here. And if this ever feels like too much, just coming down to tabletop. Making the right choice for you. From our downward facing dog, bend through both knees and look straight forward between the hands and taking tiny little baby steps forward, as many as you need to meet in a standing forward fold at the top of your mat. Widen out the feet as wide as your yoga mat, keeping a generous bend in both knees. And let the torso drape over the thighs. Let go of the back of the neck. You can grab opposite elbows here for a ragdoll. Sway side to side. You can always grab two blocks as well and place hands on blocks if that's more comfortable. Adding in support whenever it's needed. Slowly lowering the hands back down. Inhale, hands on the shins, lift halfway. Lengthen from the hips all the way out through the spine, through the back of the neck, and out through the crown of the head. On the exhale, turning the toes slightly out, we're going to move down into a yogi squat. So lowering, bending the knees, lowering the hips down, sinking as low as feels good for you. If this feels like too much, you want some support, of course you can stay up or grab two blocks, stack them on top of each other, and just take a seat on your blocks. Hands together at heart center. Elbows pressing into the insides of the knees. Nice long spine. Maybe close the eyes here. We're getting deep into the inner hips today. Maybe a little outer hips as well, but I always feel like our inner hips especially need a lot of attention. Coming back to the breath. If this feels like a lot, remember releasing our expectations, finding somewhere that feels sustainable for you, and be accepting of that. We don't need to force our bodies into any specific shape for us to be doing yoga. If you've got blocks underneath you, go ahead and lift up. Move your blocks back to the front. Everyone extend the legs, coming back to our standing forward fold, and heel toe the feet in, about hips width distance, maybe wider. On the inhale, hands towards shins, lengthen through the spine, halfway lift. Exhale to stay here. Inhale, sweep the arms up, lift the torso, press the hands together overhead, and exhale, arms by the sides. Meeting in Tadasana, mountain pose, our home base. You can stay where you are. I'm going to turn towards you. We're going to add in something I call ragdoll circles. So, feet can be hips width distance or wider. Finding a comfortable stance in your body, keeping a generous bend in both knees, arms resting by the sides. Now imagine that you cannot move your arms. Your arms are dead weight right now. They're just going to move along with the rest of our body. For these ragdoll circles, we're going to lean the torso towards the left. Again, arms are dead weight. Slowly lowering torso down towards that left foot, nice and slow. Meeting in a fold, draw torso towards the center, and then over towards the right foot. From here, lifting up through the right side, keeping those arms as dead weight, lifting slowly all the way to the top. Let's do that again, moving in a slow circle, bend towards the left, generous bend in the knees as we lower torso down towards that left foot, all the way down. Draw torso towards the center, moving slow. Draw towards the right, slowly lifting up through the right side, all the way to a stand. Now let's do that on the other side, circling the other way. So bend towards the right, arms dead weight. Slowly lowering torso towards that right foot. All the way down. Draw towards our center fold. And then towards the left. Lifting up through that left side. Nice left side bend. All the way up to the top. One more time, towards the right. Bending torso. All the way down towards that right leg. Moving nice and slow. Drawing towards center. Towards that left foot. Lifting up through a side bend towards the left. And all the way up. Very nice. I'll meet you at the top of the mat. In Tadasana, mountain pose. Coming back to the breath, back to the body. Inhale to sweep the arms up and press the palms together. On the exhale, hinge through the hips, lengthen through the spine, and lower down to a forward fold. From here, grab onto your blocks if you're using them. Place one under each hand. Inhale to lift up, lengthen the spine. On the exhale, we're going to take the right foot and step it all the way back to a lunge. Lower the right knee, maybe to a blanket if that feels better for your knee. Right toes can be tucked or untucked. Meeting in a low lunge, bending deeply into that left knee. You can have fingertips on blocks or lowering hands all the way down. If you don't have blocks, you can have hands on the thigh or just reach straight up for a little bit more. Again, finding a spot that feels sustainable for your body, bending deeply into that left knee. Chest open towards the front, taking a few breaths here, really sinking the hips down, maybe getting a stretch through the front of that right hip flexor. Take one more inhale. On the exhale, plant the hands on both blocks and draw left knee back to meet the right. We're going to switch out the legs. Step the right foot forward between both blocks. Again, finding a spot that feels sustainable. It doesn't have to be the same arm position as the other side. So fingertips on blocks, palms on blocks for more support. You can do hands on the thigh, or reach up towards the sky for a little bit more. Sinking the hips down, feeling a stretch through that left hip flexor, keeping shoulders nice and open. Take a few breaths here on this right side. Take one more inhale. On the exhale, plant the hands on both blocks. Draw right knee back to meet the left. Move those blocks out of the way, maybe at the top of the mat. Cross the ankles behind you in tabletop and just sit down on the mat behind the ankles. However you get there, coming to a seat on your mat and stretch the legs out long. We're going to set up for a seated forward fold. So you may want to incorporate a strap into this forward fold. You decide. If you don't have a strap, a great option is a scarf or even a t-shirt, whatever you got. On the inhale, sit up nice and tall. Maybe sit up on a blanket or a bolster. Inhale to reach the arms up. Exhale to fold forward from the legs, lengthen through the spine, maybe grabbing onto the feet and letting the spine round naturally. If the feet feel super far away and you want to bring the feet closer to you, this is where a strap can be really helpful. Just take the strap, wrap it around the balls of both feet, one side of the strap in each hand, and then just pulling gently on the strap and bowing forward. Doesn't have to be a super big bend here. Letting go of expectations, meeting your body exactly where it is today. Letting go of the back of the neck, bowing the head forward. Taking 3 more deep breaths here. On the inhale, slowly coming back up, lifting the torso, head is the last to lift. Grab your strap if you've got one, place it off to the side. Bend through the right knee and plant the right foot down on the mat, right knee facing up towards the ceiling. The right foot should have about 2 fists width distance between the foot and the thigh. We're going to plant our hands behind us just to lift our hips and scooch that left hip forward and right hip back, initiating the twist in the hips first. From here, plant the right hand behind you. Inhale, lift the left arm up. Exhale, twist towards the right and wrap the left arm around the right knee. Gentle seated twist. With each inhale, lengthening the spine. And on the exhale, a gentle twist through the soft organs of the belly. Not trying to force the deepest twist you're capable of, just letting the twist happen naturally. One more inhale here. On the exhale, unwind the arms, counter twist towards the left, bowing over towards the left, just one breath, and lifting back up to center. We're gonna switch out the legs, right leg long, plant that left foot down on the mat, 2 fist width distance between the left foot and the right thigh. Plant your hands behind you and scoot that right hip gently forward, left hip back to initiate the twist in the hips. Left arm behind you. Inhale, reach the right arm up. Exhale, wrap that right arm around, left knee, and twist towards the left. Nice, gentle twist here. Just breathing into it, letting the body relax. One more inhale here. Exhale to unwind. Counter twist towards the right. Just bow, one breath. And lift back up to center. Stretch both legs out long. And we're going to lower down onto our backs. So if you have a blanket on your mat, go ahead and move it out of the way. And lower down to the back here. Bend into both knees, hug the knees in towards the body, swaying side to side, maybe some circles towards the right, and circling again towards the left. Nice massage through that low back. We're going to do one more outer hip one more outer hip pose. My goodness, can't talk today. Just because I want to make sure we're stretching out all areas of our hips today. So lower both feet towards the mat. Cross right knee over left, just like you're crossing your legs normally. Maybe this feels like enough. You might feel it in your outer hips. If you don't feel anything, play with lifting the knees up and drawing right foot out to the right, left foot out to the right, right foot out to the left. So drawing the feet in opposite directions. You can grab onto the thighs, or you can grab onto the feet if you can reach them. Drawing feet out towards the sides. Maybe starting to get a stretch in those outer hips here. Breathing into it wherever you are. And then letting go of the feet, lowering back down onto the left foot. Uncross the right, and we'll do the other side. So cross left knee right on top of the right, like we're just crossing our legs casually. Staying here if this feels like enough, or maybe lift that right foot, draw right foot over towards the left, and left foot over towards the right. Grabbing onto thighs, maybe the outer edges of the feet, and just sinking into that outer hip stretch. And slowly letting go, lowering right foot down, and then uncrossing. Beautiful. We're going to end in our bound angle pose, so feet together, knees out wide. This time, a supine bound angle pose. Noticing if your hips feel any different now compared to how they felt when we first started class. Just observing without judgment, without wishing things were different. Letting go of those high expectations of yourself and just thanking your body for everything it does for you on a daily basis. Our bodies are always working so hard for us. So it's nice to take a pause, really appreciate that. Having a body that feels good is such a privilege. It's not something that everyone has. So take a moment to sit in gratitude for our healthy bodies or semi-healthy bodies wherever you are. If you'd like to stay in bound angle pose for your final resting pose, Shavasana, feel free. Or you can close the knees like a book, straighten the legs out long, and sink into a traditional Shavasana pose. Let feet flop out to the sides, arms resting gently by your sides. Grab any props to make you more comfortable, like a pillow for your head. Covering yourself in a blanket, get nice and cozy. And for the last few moments, staying here in Shavasana, our quiet meditation, staying here as long as you'd like. Thank you for joining me for gentle yoga, and I'll see you next time.